less than 2% of high school athletes end up playing Division I sports in various sports, various colleges. So it begs the question, what's the point in having kids play all these sports when they're young if such a small group will actually end up playing Division I sports? Well, the answer to that is so incredibly important because guess what? The general public has gotten it all wrong. Their perspective is what's failing kids. Sports are, in fact, one of the most important things that'll help set that kid up for success. That's what we're going to be talking about today. How can we set up our kids for better success? And what can we learn as adults pursuing entrepreneurship, pursuing leadership to actually become better leaders ourselves? That's going to be today's topic. Let's get right into it.
This is Don't Fear Grit with Rob Taormina. Marketing strategies and advertising technologies to help you build a better business.
If you have been any type of long-term listener of the show, you know I'm a big advocate of sports. I played sports myself at various levels, actually. I'm so grateful to be able to say and have the experience and the memories and be able to say that I actually played sports for a while, right? But my kids also play sports, and I'm a big advocate of sports. But my approach, my perspective is so different than the vast majority of people that get their kids involved with sports or are involved with sports themselves. I actually just look at the sport as the vehicle to teaching some of life's greatest lessons. Regardless of skill level, I think sports are an incredible tool that can be leveraged to help set kids up for success. Now, I said earlier this crazy stat, and it's a true stat. Less than 2% of high school athletes actually end up playing any type of Division I sport. What's crazy about that number, you got to think about this. Less than 10% of little league age, so that's like 5 to about 10 years old, 5 to about 12 years old, less than 10% of those kids even play high school sports, making those student athletes making it to Division I sports a really big deal. It's a really big accomplishment. But as big of an accomplishment that is, if it represents such a small number, then what's the point of focusing kids at such a young age on pursuing a sport that they'll end up never playing again and never receiving the direct benefits from? Well, that's because the indirect benefits are actually the point. We as a culture put so much emphasis on skill, and we make a decision on whether or not they should pursue it based on this one thing. Do they have the skill to do it? Are they really good at it? Now, life will make the decision of when a child will stop playing a competitive sport, right? They just won't make that next team. Maybe they won't make their middle school team, or maybe they won't make their high school team, and maybe they won't be able to go on and play in college, right? Life will make the decision for them because they will skill out or they will age out. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when they're young. Is it important for kids when they're like 5 to 12 years old to be playing a sport even if they're not good at it? The answer is a resounding yes, because the things that a child will learn from those experiences will actually give them the greatest chance of success when they get older. You're positioning them for success when they get older, because playing sports is a unique environment that you can't teach in a classroom. By playing sports, by having to play well with others and being competitive and socializing in that type of competitive environment, you are actually training yourself to be able to problem solve, to be able to communicate, to be able to process emotions better. You become better leaders, you become better disciplined, right? More disciplined. We think that the only thing that we can learn from is if we win. I actually take a very unique approach. I disagree with that. I think there's just as much, if not more, for a child to learn when they lose than when they actually win. Discouragement could be a great thing if, as their mentor, you guide them and you focus what is part of this discouragement in this situation where maybe they lost a game? What are those great things that we can be learning from? And you talk to them about this. You help them to understand those feelings, those emotions. You help them to problem solve through real life situations in a game situation. Now, if you are someone who've already played all these sports and you're really involved with your kids, you probably totally understand where I'm coming from and why I'm saying this. Now, a little background. Now, I did play sports. I was that kid. I played sports when I was really young, and I played on travel teams. I got really great exposure. I was scouted by Major League. I played baseball. I was scouted by Major League teams. I got to play Division I baseball. Like, I played at a very, very high level, at a very high competitive level, and I am so grateful now looking back. Realizing how precious of that opportunity was, that not a lot of people have that as an opportunity to play at such a high level. And I'm so grateful that I got to experience that. Now, translating that now into my kids, I've got triplets. They're 12 years old. I've had them involved with so many different types of sports. First, and the obvious one is, to try to help them to understand and to pinpoint what they like, maybe also what they're good at. But that's just a surface level. That's the obvious benefits and the obvious sort of trajectory for sports. The not so obvious things, and I think this is where I think generally the culture fails kids and fails in their approach to training young kids for success to become better leaders, is they fail in their perspective on these things like sports. Sports is an incredible vehicle that will enable people like parents and coaches and mentors to guide kids to success. It helps to position them for a greater chance of success if, in fact, they are sort of guided in the right way. Sports are amazing for that reason. And like I was saying before, and listen, I repeat myself because on some things, right? Because when I repeat myself, that means it's really, really important. So I'm going to repeat myself again. There are lessons to learn when you lose a game. Shocker, right? That's not talked about enough. And I will make the argument that there are more lessons to learn when a child loses in a game than when they win in a game. But it's up to the mentors in that situation to really come alongside those kids to help them to understand what's going on, to really direct them and really zero in like a bullseye on what is that thing that they should be learning here. And I think if we can recognize where we have failed so that it guides us to where we can be more successful, then the people around us benefit from that. I'm a huge advocate of sports for kids regardless of skill level. I believe all kids should have an opportunity to learn, to play, and to grow, because I think that is where we're going to see more kids succeed in life, more kids become leaders, more kids be in control of their emotions, more kids making really great, responsible decisions, more kids becoming disciplined, more kids being able to communicate. I think there are so many amazing things that come from this. So if you're a parent and your kid's coming to you and be like, I don't want to do this anymore, or I'm bored, I don't feel like it, it's up to you as a parent to really buckle down, for you to grind it out, and for you to get a little gritty right here in that moment, and to actually have your kids still play the sport, because as a parent, as a mentor, as a guardian, you can see further down the road than a child can. And you can see that it's going to benefit them to be able to persevere through those moments, because there's more to learn than just playing the game. And that's what I want you guys to sort of take away from today's episode, is to think a little bit outside the box. Don't take the obvious approach. Don't look through it through the obvious lens and the obvious perspective, because sometimes there's another perspective that could really present a great opportunity for you to be even more successful. This is not just for kids now, but this is a lesson for us as well. What are things in our life that we are just sort of casting aside, and we're only looking at that thing in the obvious lens? Well, let's put a different lens on and look at it from a different perspective and say to yourself, what can I learn from this that'll help me, that'll position me to be a better leader, to be a better father, to be a better husband, to be a better business owner, right? You can just fill in the blank there, right? So look at it from a different lens, different perspective, and say, what can I learn so that I can become better? And sort of like circling right back to the original. I'm going to put a sort of a bow on this conversation right here, right? Because this one is a real gift. This is a precious gift that we need to really sort of think about. I had a conversation recently with a family member about their kids, and the kid said, you know what, I'm done. I don't want to play anymore. I'm bored. And I said to my family member, I said, you know what, if we allowed a child who's 7 years old to make the decisions in life when they don't understand the consequences of it, they really can't see past tomorrow at all. If we let them actually be in the driver's seat of all those decisions, I said what would likely happen is nothing, because they don't understand the consequences. That's why we need to sort of sometimes step in for those kids. Sometimes we need to actually step in for ourselves and maybe take a step back and be like, you know what? Am I making the right decision that's in the best interest of what I'm doing? In the best interest for the people around me? In the best interest for my goals, my mission, where I want to be? And let that drive you. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope maybe it just sort of gave you a different perspective and made you think a little bit outside the box, and enjoy going down the rabbit hole of this one because it's a fun one. Until next time, guys, don't fear the process and don't fear grit. Take care.